Those who have been clinically dead and came back, what did you see? I was bleeding to death from an upper GI bleed. I felt like I was slowly shedding my ego, and the anxiety that I held constantly was going away, like I remember thinking that nothing on earth was my problem anymore. I was becoming part of the universe in a million different ways, and it was beautiful. Meanwhile, an EMT was screwing something into my humerus to give me blood and fluids, which is supposed to be very painful because it pushes stuff out of the way inside the bone, intraosseous access. I didn't feel it at all, or the pain and sickness. I was above it all, aware but not watching. I am glad though that I was resuscitated because life is good now. Thank you to EMTs and people who give blood. Oh, after that it was absolutely nothing, by the way. Deeper than ever, not even like sleeping. Just nothing. Blackness with maybe a growing white haze in one corner of the blackness. It's not really what I saw but what I felt. The most intense feeling of peace you could imagine. That last sentence really resonates with my experience. I saw nothing but my last breath felt like the deepest exhale, and then all my pain went away. I lost control of my car going 75 miles per hour. I felt that same peace between the loss of control and impact before I briefly lost consciousness. 4 months later I developed PTSD. As my therapist put it, you had done enough to convince the rational part of your brain that you were about to die and it doesn't quite know how to sort that memory. Accidental OD as a kid. Keep your prescriptions locked up away from kids. My heart stopped. I remember just darkness. But I don't remember being afraid or anything, just peaceful and warm. It was the most peaceful thing I have ever experienced. I don't know if anything exists beyond that peaceful darkness because the doctors resuscitated me. But if that's all there is after the meat suit shuts down, I'm okay with it. This is very similar to my experience, not an OD. I coded after waking up from surgery. I had a sense I was with someone else but also not physically, just like energetically. The other person was an older woman, maybe a teacher. Otherwise exactly the same. Just darkness and peace and warm. Like when you're having the perfect nap and you're so comfy and peaceful? Like that. I was really mad when I woke up actually. Being awake and in my body was way less pleasant. I also couldn't remember who I was or why I was there for like 30 seconds, which was strange. They made me get a CT to make sure I hadn't had a stroke. I didn't. Glad to be here now though. Briefly been dead on 2 occasions, both times at the hospital. Saw nothing. Only notable difference between being just regular unconscious and dead was the complete lack of continuity. After waking up, I had no sense of time passed, despite still being in the same room, surrounded by the same people. If you told me I had been gone for 5 hours, days, months or years, I would have believed you in those very first seconds. Went back to normal rather quickly though. Same for deliberate sedation, a complete jump cut from before to after. I have been sedated over 20 times for surgeries and would consider the jump cut feeling when I was dead as much stronger, but also the rebooting process as faster as well. It hits you harder, but you are faster back up to speed. Was declared medically dead for 3 minutes 11 seconds as a 15 years old who ended up getting meningococcal years ago at a house party. I remember being on a beach sitting on a wharf with my feet in the water chatting to my older brother who was alive and well. I was big into Final Fantasy X back then, and it almost felt like my interpretation of Besaid Beach. Felt like forever we were doing this. Then I felt actual water on my feet, and I woke from a long coma because somebody was in my hospital room and had spilt water over me. I just remember how shit and foul my mouth felt and tasted as I started regaining my senses. Meningococcal meningitis is no joke. I had it when I was 16, fell asleep on my couch and woke up 3 days later in the hospital. My mom said she found me on the floor seizing only because the dog was standing over me barking. I thank that dog every day for the last 28 years for saving my life. I don't remember anything. It felt like a long nap where I woke up in a different place with a bunch of stuff attached to me that I didn't have when I was conscious. I had an NG tube, catheter for, and was hooked up to a monitor. This was in 2021. I caught COVID a second time and I recovered initially. 10 days later I could barely breathe and wound up in the ICU. I don't remember much, but I remember people in those CDC suits scrambling around me and a doctor telling me they were going to give me some experimental drug, and the next thing I know everything is black and I'm falling. And it was warm and comfortable, like when I was a kid watching a movie right before I fell asleep on the couch. I felt safe, I felt relaxed, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace and just knew that I was dying and this was it, and it was okay. And then I heard my son calling for me. I remember this white-hot rage just start burning in my chest, painful but focused. I started fighting that feeling and felt myself stop falling down and slowly start falling upwards. Then I'm blinking and there's that doctor telling me how happy he was to see me awake, and the staff looked happy as well. I don't remember leaving the hospital, or how long I was there, but waking up at home. This still keeps me up at night. A few years back, Romain Grosjean, and female one driver, had an horrible crash and his car burst into flames. He says he tried to get out but couldn't. He says he felt at peace with it then, accepted it. But then he remembered his kids and his wife, and fought super hard to get out. He struggled out and got away with only some burns to his hands. I wasn't clinically dead, but I was involved in a drunken car accident when I was 17. I was the passenger coming back from a party. The driver was intoxicated. We had a head-on a back road in the country, and it took 45 minutes for police, fire, and ambulance. First, I'd like to say that I was raised by hippie parents who are against most forms of religions and government organizations. Never once was I taught about God or went to church except for my cousin's weddings. When I came to, I was in a dark space. I saw a man who was roughly 2 stories high looking down on me. In his hands he held a urn vase type implement with long golden handles that met at an opening. As I looked up at him, he began to pour a clear fluid over me from the urn. Immediately I felt cold and had the shivering sensation. It was thicker than water but similar in appearance. After a few moments I asked what he was doing. He said he was cleansing me. As I looked up again to reply, I saw he had turned the urn upside down and brought it down on top of me. After this, all I saw was blackness, but I felt as though people were around me waiting. Suddenly I realized I must be dead. I started to panic and think, no, this can't be. I didn't want to die. I started to feel my body tilt, and instead of being upright I felt as though I was now hovering at a 45-degree angle. I then thought, if I'm dead, where is God? In the far distance I saw a pinprick of light like a star in the night sky. I then felt myself slightly pulled towards this object as if I was a magnet. I took a deep breath in and noticed I began to move forward once more. Now I began to continuously breath in and out, each time accelerating the pull. Now I started to feel waves rolling over me of absolute love, which gave me a goosebump feeling. It felt greater than any mother's love possible. This continued until I was inches away from the light, which now appeared as a glowing perfect sphere or orb. I felt tears of joy and I desperately wanted to become one with the light. The light spoke and said, "Love everyone and love everything, have no fear." However, just as I was about to touch it, I woke up to another passenger in the back seat kicking me in the face as they tried to exit our rolled vehicle. My first thoughts coming to was that I wanted to go back there, and that this world wasn't real. Damn, that's crazy. Thanks, I've never told my friends or family in fear of judgment. I don't know what to believe. If it was just my consciousness, it was the most beautiful experience I have felt. It is the most significant event of my life. It's possible I nearly died during surgery a few years ago. From what I was told, I came super close to doing so. Anyway, I just recall standing in a white void, being able to see my own feet planted firmly on the floor, and having this overwhelming feeling of warmth, comfort, and peacefulness. I also recall still feeling like myself, and I had the ability to remember some memories, but only a limited amount of them. It was such an odd and unforgettable experience. Not me, but my dad, who grew up a strict then lapsed Catholic, but still believes there is something, told me rather candidly. I saw nothing, just black. That was during the 9 minutes my mother, a former St. John ambulance officer, pounded his chest to get his heart restarted. That was 13 years ago. Dad turned 93 in February. I don't think I was clinically dead, but this is the closest I've ever been. Here's my experience. I was a teenager trying to install a headphone port on my old TV. I knew the cathode tube could store up to 30,000 volts of electricity, and touching it could kill me instantly. So, I made sure to unplug the TV and then tried to switch it on to fully discharge the tube before working inside it. I installed the port, welded the cables, and switched on the TV to test it. It didn't work. I switched it off, unplugged it, tried to turn it on again while unplugged to discharge it, and checked the connections. Everything seemed fine. I welded the cables again to make sure they were properly connected. Then, I plugged the TV back in, switched it on, and tested it, still nothing. I realized I would have to test it while it was on to get immediate feedback. So, I started touching the cables with a screwdriver while the TV was running. The handle of the screwdriver was plastic, and when the tip touched one of the cables, suddenly, I got sound. I could hear the TV through the headphones. I just needed to weld that cable better. I tried to push the cable itself with the screwdriver, but holding it from the back made it difficult. To get a bit more stability, I put my index finger on the metallic part of the screwdriver. The moment my finger touched the metallic part, I saw a bridge of light, as thick as my pinky finger, jump from the TV tube to the tip of the screwdriver. I heard a loud noise, and the force of it, combined with the shock, made me jump backward. I landed on my bed, face up, staring at the ceiling. I couldn't see anything, everything was white. I wasn't blind, but it felt like looking directly at the sun, even with my eyes shut. I don't remember how long I was like that. I don't know if I lost consciousness. Eventually, shadows started forming on the ceiling. I began recognizing the light in my room and the shapes of my curtains. Then, I heard a distant rattling sound, like a child's toy slowing down. The rattle grew closer and slower until it sounded like a drum. Pum, pum, pum. It became more stable. That's when I realized the sound was my heart. I could see clearly again. My ceiling, my room, everything was back to normal. After that, I closed up the TV, tested it, and it was working fine. I never tried to open or touch the inside of a TV again. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.